Mr. Elias Desvai. He has come from Ethiopia on our request to deliver the topic on historical performance of the operating sugar estate and pictorial depiction of the production practices adopted in Ethiopia. I will give a small introduction about Mr. Elias. He is basically an agronomist, worked in R&D departments and worked in the factories, in the cultivations, and worked as a general manager. And now he is working as an independent consultant in Ethiopia. And we know them very well because we are all associated in some of our foreign projects. And one of the things which their experience is the development of the complete cane, this one in a nuclear state. They are having all the factories were having their own estates, 20,000 to 40,000 hectares land. It will be well managed by the factory, and they give a scientific or systematic approach for in cultivating the cane with high yield and high sugar recovery. And the scientific approach is right from soil analysis, land preparation, then developing irrigation system, and then planning for drainage system, and then properly and preparation for the mechanical harvesting or manual harvesting. So all those things taken into, and proper manure application. So with all these things, they are able to achieve this one. There are ups and downs due to various reasons, but this scientific approach has given them a good yield. So just it is not a farmer's cane development; it is a estate cane. But even then, what are the steps what they are giving it, which will give a good highlight for our Indian technologists. So that is why I invited him to present this paper. I invite Mr. Elias to come here.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's okay? Before I start my presentation, I would like to express my appreciation and thanks to the Secretariat of Bharatiya Sugar and JP Mukherjee and Associates, particularly the Managing Director, for giving me this opportunity to say a few things about the Ethiopian sugar industry on this prestigious platform. Having said this, the presentation I am talking about today is not a research finding. It is just an attempt to show you the performance evolution of the pioneer and the first sugar estates in Ethiopia, and also to highlight some of our production system, particularly the agricultural production system. You may find some interesting things, and also some funny things too. The title is the historical performance overview of few of the sugar estates. Just to show you from where I come from, I'm from Ethiopia. This map is just to show you the relative position of Ethiopia to India. We are not very far from here, just across the Indian Ocean. And you can reach there just by 5 hours flight. So we are not very far, we are very near to each other. As compared to the Indian sugar industry, the Ethiopian sugar industry is a very, very young sugar industry. It was established in the 1950s. The first sugar was produced in Ethiopia in 1954. Just to show you how young this sugar industry is, my great-grandfather died before tasting sugar. So this is a very young industry. The first sugar factory was established by foreigners, by a company from the Dutch. They brought a second-hand sugar manufacturing plant from Indonesia and installed it in the one of the river valleys. So when it started, the sugar industry, it started as a private company, but not anymore. Just a few pointers about the operation modality. Currently, the sugar estate is fully owned by the state. It is a government company. There are some companies, private companies coming up recently, but generally we can say that the sugar industry is state-owned. One particular peculiar characteristic of the Ethiopian sugar industry is, as opposed to the Indian sugar industry, our organization is a state-type organization in which the factory owns all the cane plantation. We have only few outgrowths in few sugar estates. Otherwise, in most of the sugar estates, the factory totally supplies its cane requirement from its own cane plantation. This is just to show you a list of the sugar estates. The first three are the existing operating sugar estates, which are now at steady state of operation. And the second table shows the new sugar estate developments going on in the country. At the moment, these three sugar estates, these operating sugar estates, they do have overall cane area of some 42,000 hectares and installed capacity of 23,000 TCD. But the coming up sugar factories will have a total, after a few years, Ethiopia will have additional 110,000 tons TCD capacity and some 250,000 hectares of cane plantation within the coming few years. This is just to show you the evolution of the capacity development of the existing three sugar mills. The sugar mills started at 1,400 TCD when it started some 6 decades ago. Now these three sugar factories do have a combined capacity of 23,000 TCD. Some of the sugar factories have expanded. The first factory expanded from 1,400 TCD to 6,000 TCD at the moment. The other from 4,000 TCD to 12,000 TCD, and the third one from 3,000 TCD to 5,000 TCD. So at the moment, these three sugar factories do have a combined capacity of 23,000 TCD. So with the increasing capacity of the sugar factories, the daily milling capacity of the sugar factories also showed an increase with time. This figure shows you the annual cane milling in tons versus the actual. As per the design, these sugar factories are supposed to mill around 4.6 million tons of sugar cane per year, with average or with annual operating or milling days ranging from 180 to 240 days. As you can see from the graph, there are ups and downs. In some years, the factories were operating at their capacity, in some years below capacity for different reasons. But at the moment, the factories are not doing at their design capacity. We will discuss some of the reasons later on. This is just to show you the variability in the design and actual crushing capacity of the different sugar mills. I think this one is the better estate, where it can, in most of its time, except the recent years, could mill cane almost in par with its design capacity per annum. This one is the second sugar estate, but in other parameters, in other performance indices, this is one of the best sugar estates. But in some of the years, especially between the from 1985 until in 2001, its performance was not good in terms of annual cane crushing capacity. We will see some of the reasons also later on in the presentation. This is the newly established one as compared to the first two. Here also, it was progressing to meet its design capacity for some time, but also here also at the moment, it's not working at its design capacity. This figure shows the cumulative annual sugar production per ton. The maximum these sugar factories could achieve so far is around 360,000 tons of sugar. Generally, if we count from start of milling in the 1954-55 season, so far these three sugar factories have produced a combined sugar of some 10 million tons, but the maximum they could achieve within a year was only 360,000 tons of sugar. In parallel with the increasing in the capacity of the sugar mills, the cane area was also progressing accordingly. Now these three sugar estates have a combined capacity of some 42,000 hectares. As per their design, they need to develop some 45,000 hectares. Some of the recently expanded sugar factories are still developing additional area. That is why we see the difference. This is a graph showing the cumulative or the total plantation area versus the annual harvest area. As you can see, there is a gap between the plantation area and the annual harvested area. One of the main reasons for this discrepancy is that we are not harvesting cane at 12 months of age like many of the areas in India are doing. Our average age is higher than 12 months because of our altitude. The cane maturity period is a little bit very late. So most of the time, most of the sugar factories, they harvest on average 75% of their cane area every year. So that's why you see discrepancy between the total plantation area and the annual harvest area. This may be a very interesting figure for many of us, including you. This is the cane yield productivity, the cumulative. This is the cumulative for the three sugar factories. As you can see, there are ups and downs during the 60 years of their existence. For the first 15 years, the sugar factories were performing very well. They were getting an average of more than 180 tons of cane per hectare. The next 15 years, there was a decline, but still they were doing very marvelous, and they were getting 173 tons of cane per hectare. Then comes the decline started, and for the years 1984-85 to 89-90, for 6 consecutive years, they were experiencing a very significant decline in their productivity. They were achieving only on average of 147 tons of cane per hectare. The main reason here is drought and flooding. Later on, I will discuss the situation. Of course, all the Ethiopian sugar estates are irrigated. They are not rain-fed. But due to drought, some of the water reservoirs, some of the dams were dried, and the plantations were run at a deficit irrigation, and this has affected the plantations a lot. In some years, there was serious flooding from dams, unusual flooding, and one estate, the whole 7,000 hectare was at one time inundated fully with water. So these situations are the main reasons for the decline in cane yield in the years 1984-85 to 1989-90, for 6 years. Then comes a very alarming decline in the productivity of the sugar estates. You can see from 186, now for 5 consecutive years, their yield declined to 121 tons per hectare. You can say that this is a very disappointing and a very alarming decline in cane yield, and it had its own very reason. During this time, the country was in a civil war, there was instability, and nobody was caring about the business. Everybody was worrying about its life. So anyway, the industry was highly affected during this time and declined. The productivity declined very drastically. Then after the war was over and the stability revived again in the country, the cane productivity also revived similarly. And for 11 consecutive years, these sugar estates could achieve an average yield of 153 tons cane per hectare. Now the cycle of declining again came into picture. Now from 2007-2008 season up to now, the factories are not doing well in respect of their productivity. Now the yield declined from 153 to 138 for these 9 years. Here there are good and also bad reasons. The first reason is the government is in a very over-ambitious plan of developing 9 large-scale sugar estates parallelly within a short period of time. So the requirement for experienced personnel was not in line with the requirement of the sugar factories. Most of the experienced people from the pioneer and established sugar estates were transferred to these new developments, and the old sugar factories were in the hands of people who are developing their career and their skill. One reason is this one. The other is there is a financial crisis, there is a financial stress because of this new project. The state where we get the highest cane yield at the moment. So just highlighting the cane productivity and the performance of the sugar estates, just to show you, or just to highlight what production system we are using there. The sugar industry is currently, it is a state-owned business, and it is a state operation. As I said, when I say state operation, I mean that the factory supplies its cane requirement from its own cane plantation, basically. So here, each factory has its own concession land, and it is the responsibility of the factory to develop and to construct all the infrastructure and facilities required for its operation and also for its employees. All the factories are providing housing, education, health services, power supply, and potable water for their employees. In Ethiopia, if you go to a sugar estate, it looks like a small town. The other peculiar thing about the Ethiopian sugar estates is the agricultural production is a semi-mechanized and fully irrigated system. When I say semi-mechanized, some of the agricultural operations are done using machineries, mechanical operations, and some are being executed manually. The major mechanized operations are tillage, cultivation, and the cane haulage. Cane haulage, excluding the harvesting, the loading and the transport operation is fully mechanized. And we are using tractors with horsepower range from 110 to 375 horsepower. This is in the government or state-owned sugar estates. New private sugar estates are coming up, and they are procuring machineries for their agricultural development. And one estate is already procured machinery up to a horsepower range of 450 horsepower. This is just to show you some of the mechanized operations. Here we can see an uprooting operation using a 250 horsepower tractor. We are also using heavy-duty implementers for our agricultural operations. This is a harrow implement and a harrowing operation. Here also we are using 250 horsepower tractors. This is a land leveling operation. In some of the states where we do furrow irrigation system, land leveling is a prerequisite, both during the first development and also we do precision or correction land leveling after each crop cycle. So here also we use tractors up to having a power range of up to 250 horsepower. This is a very heavy-duty harrow we are using. You can see that to operate this kind of heavy-duty implements, we need to have heavy-duty tractors. This is a field where furrowing operation is being executed. It is going to be ready for planting. This is just a field ready for planting. So tillage operation is basically a mechanized operation in our sugar estates. The other mechanized operation is the cultivation operation. Most of the cultivation operations, the fertilizer application, the herbicide spraying are done all mechanically. We use tractors having power range ranging from 80 to 130 horsepower. This is a self-propelled sprayer we are using for spraying herbicides. This is a cultivation operation. Okay, the other mechanical operation is the cane haulage operation, the loading and the transport of sugar cane to the sugar factory. The harvesting is done manual, but the loading and the transport is fully mechanized operation. This is just to show you the practices being used there. Okay. So the other operations are basically manual, right from seed cane preparation, planting to harvesting. Many of the operations are also manual. This is just a field being prepared for seed cane. We use the chopped seed sets for planting, so this is basically a manual operation. This is at the edge of a field ready for planting. So this is, the people are getting prepared for field planting. This is a harvesting operation. Harvesting is basically manual. At the moment, we burn our cane before harvesting, and harvesting is fully manual. This is a field being harvested, and you can also see how high is the cane yield from the stack shown on the picture. This is just to show you cane burning before planting. I'm not sure whether you are burning cane here or not, but there we burn cane. But in the new sugar factories, we may go for mechanical harvesting, and we may abandon burning of cane, because some of the sugar is also the sugar to be produced also with a plan of exporting it to the world market. Some of the countries are very sensitive to environmental issues these days. They may not be willing to buy sugar that can produced with damaging the environment. So with mechanical harvesting, this practice may be abandoned in the future. Again, all our sugar estates are fully irrigated. Except drip irrigation, we use all the other systems. We have sprinkler irrigation system, we have center pivot irrigation system, and also we have furrow irrigation system. In Ethiopia, all the sugar estates are located in the Rift Valley region, where we get rainfall ranging from 400 millimeter to 1400 millimeter. But the problem there is this rainfall is falling only in the limited period of 3 months, June to August, just like the monsoon rain in India. So the rainfall is not well distributed throughout the year, so it is a must for us to have irrigation system in place to have a commercial cane production. So all our sugar estates are fully irrigated using these systems. Yeah, this is a furrow irrigation field. As you can see, our fields are not small ones, they are big ones. Our standard is to have a field of 25 hectare minimum, depending on the topography. There are some fields below this one, but for efficient operation of mechanical operations, we require fields of bigger size. So our standard is 25 hectare for a field. This is also just to show you the irrigation canal. Same thing. This is just a field after germination using furrow irrigation system. This is one of good-looking cane, commercial cane at one of the sugar estates. I think this is a 7 months old cane. All right, the other interesting issue for you may be the varieties we are growing. These are the varieties we are cultivating, and I am very sure you will be very surprised to see these varieties under commercial cultivation. Some of the sugar varieties, we have been cultivating them for the last 40 years. In some of the countries, these sugarcane varieties are found only in sugarcane variety museums. But we are still cultivating some of these old varieties. Anyway, generally, our varieties are very old. That doesn't mean that we are happy with them. We are using fertilizer, basically commercial fertilizers. We are using our nitrogenous and phosphorus fertilizers. We have a very well elaborated seed cane production scheme. We have an initial seed cane and seed cane scheme. We use hot water treatment and also fungicide treatment for seed production. The major diseases and pests we are having are smut and RSCD. Regarding disease, for insect pests, we have a problem of black beetle and termites. Our cropping pattern is we cultivate PC and an average of 5 ratoons. There are some estates cultivating up to 7 ratoons, but on average, our ratoons are 5. So annually, the harvest comprises of 6 cuttings. The other issue is we practice dry off before harvest. As you know, this practice enhances ripening or induce ripening and also enhances field for accessibility. Our system is to keep a field dry off twice the irrigation interval. Of course, this depends on the evaporation rate in that particular month. This is just to give you a highlight on our planning of new land development. Most of these things are done by ourselves. We are very rigorous in this issue. Before going for planting, we do a very tedious soil surveying work on each virgin land. Normally, we do sampling at intensity of 1 auger sample for 16 hectare, and we do physical and chemical analysis of each land, and then after after knowing that the characteristic of this, the chemical and physical characteristic of these soils, that we define the amount and the type of fertilizer required for each field. The other is we do agrometeorological and topographical analysis in designing the cropping system. And also defining compatible production system with the nature of the, our resource base. This is just to show you some of the mechanical operations being under execution for new land development. This is just land clearing work. This is reaping work for a virgin land. This is a land labeling work for virgin land. This is a center pivot irrigation system under construction in one of the big sugar estates. I think better stop here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ilyas Tesfaye. He is the consultant. Thank you very much for his nice presentation, and he came from long distance, that is from Ethiopia. So on behalf of management of Bharatiya Sugar, I once again thanks for him, thanks all the authors who have presented the papers on the theme, and this is the right time to give the memento to the authors. So I request Honorable Narendra Mohanji to come on the dais and present the memento to the authors. I also request the President of Bharatiya Sugar, Vikram Singhji Shinde. I also request Mr. Bokhare sir to come on the dais and give the memento to the authors. And I also request Mr. C.N. Deshpande, Vice President of the Bharatiya Sugar, to come on the dais. So I request Narendra Mohanji to give the memento to the author, Mr. Ilyas from Ethiopia. I request President of Bharatiya Sugar to give a memento to Mr. Dilip Patil. I request Mr. Bokhare to give a memento to M.S. Sundaram sir.
यहाँ पे अपने भारतीय शुगर परिवार के वाइस प्रेसिडेंट रास्कर सर, इनको भी यहाँ पे सम्मानित किया जाता है। आदरणीय शिंदे सर से रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ, विक्रम जी शिंदे सर, प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ भारतीय शुगर सर से रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ कि यहाँ पे रास्कर सर को भी आप सम्मानित करें। यहाँ पे एक ग्रुप फोटो होगा। मान्यवरों से निवेदन है, विनती है, और साथ ही मैं आप सभी प्रतिनिधियों का फिर से एक बार हम तहे दिल से शुक्रिया।
शुगर भारतीय शुगर भारतीय शुगर एवं भारतीय शुगर भारतीय शुगर भारतीय शुगर भारतीय शुगर एवं भारतीय शुगर हमारे जहां की शान है हम सबका है अभिमान इस धरती को दे खुशहाली शान अपनी किसान आओ मिलके साथ चले हम कामयाबी की डगर नाम एक ही इस दुनिया का भारतीय शुगर भारतीय शुगर भारतीय शुगर एवं भारतीय शुगर भारतीय शुगर भारतीय शुगर भारतीय शुगर एवं भारतीय शुगर हमारे जहां की शान है हम सबका है अभिमान इस धरती को दे खुशहाली शान अपनी किसान आओ मिलके साथ चले हम कामयाबी की डगर नाम एक ही इस दुनिया का भारतीय शुगर